Hi guys, and welcome to the third video in my series on filming puppets. The first video I did was quite short and quite sweet, but it gave a few important points which gave you the basis of setting up your shots. The second video I did was all about the equipment side of things. It was quite a long video, and there was quite a lot in there and I'm just hoping I haven't missed anything out. But so if I have, I apologise. Feel free to comment if there's anything that you want added in there or something that you want clarification on. So now I want to move on to planning. So you got your equipment, you know what you want to do, why you want to do it, and you know who's available. So now you need to look at planning. So you need to get together a list of who's going to help you and what their roles are, so that everybody knows in advance what they're doing. Now obviously if you're doing a shoot on your own, or there's one or two of you, then this is a fairly simple thing that you can do in your head. But believe me, if you've got a team of 6 puppeteers and a couple of extra helpers, it can be very beneficial to work out in advance who's doing what and make sure everyone knows their roles. The next thing is the locations. So let's just say you're filming and it's not in your own home. So where are you filming? You might be filming in a park, you might be filming at a railway station, you might be filming at an airport. There's lots of different places you can film. The first thing I would say is don't assume that you are allowed to film somewhere just because it's open. So it might be that you go, oh well, I can film at the local train station just because, you know, it's quite open there and there's no security and I can just walk onto the platform. Now obviously if you're in the middle of London or the middle of New York or somewhere like that in a major train station, the chance of you being able to film in there is going to be pretty slim. You'd have to be some sort of production company paying quite a lot of money in order to do that sort of thing. But in certain instances it is possible to do. But wherever you're filming, if you think there's a chance that you'll need to get permission, get permission. Even if you don't think that you need to get permission, if you know who to speak to, like for example a park, you might just go to the local council and say, look, we're looking at doing some filming, there's 4 of us there and a camera on a tripod, we'll be there for maybe an hour, is that okay? It's better to ask permission than run the risk of people having a go at you. Now the second thing with regards to that is, if you want to use a location, don't be afraid to ask. Now I've done filming in schools, I've done filmings on railway platforms, I've done filmings in an airport, and in every instance I've just gone along and I've gone, look, this is what we're doing, is it okay if we come and shoot? Now the platform is quite a rural station in the southwest of England here, so it's not like it was you know, Piccadilly or somewhere like that. So in that instance that made life a lot easier. The classroom was actually the high school that my kids went to, so they let us have one of their porter cabin rooms over a weekend so that we could do some filming in there for the summer series for the schools. And then with regards to the airport, I didn't take any puppets or anything in, but they allowed me to go in and shoot some footage so that I could use that as a backdrop for the puppets that I then filmed on green screen and what have you. So don't be afraid to ask. You know, you can be quite creative in locations, but just don't assume that you can do something. Always ask in advance. So the next thing you need to do with your planning is work out what equipment you need. Okay, it's all well and good me saying in the last one about the cameras and your microphones and your lighting and everything else, but what do you actually need? It might be that you don't need half the equipment on a particular shoot, and if you're doing something a little bit more major, then what you use on one day might be different to what you use on another day. So it's good to plan out what you're doing and when and what equipment you need. And again, it's not just the equipment like the camera and the tripod and everything. You know, do you need any masking tape or, you know, bags for carrying things? Do you need sandwiches if you're going to be out all day? You're going to get hungry. You know, what puppets do you need? That sort of thing. So make sure you plan everything out so that you've got a note of absolutely everything. Okay, so you know what equipment you need. How are you going to transport it? You know, do you drive? Do you have a car? If you don't, who's going to drive? What vehicle is it going to go in? Depending on how if you're doing this as a personal venture, nobody's getting paid, then generally it won't matter what car you're doing or whatever else. But if you're doing this as a paid thing, or you're doing this under the banner, for example, of your local church or your youth club or whatever, there might be insurance issues, so just be a little bit careful of those, because if they were to have a crash and you've got a car full of puppeteers and filming equipment, they might go, well, hang on a minute, this isn't, you know, your general social and domestic car insurance, so they might not pay out. So it's just be a case of being a bit aware of that. And also, you know, if you've got 6 puppeteers and a load of equipment, you're not all going to fit in a car. You know, you're going to need either a big sort of 7-seater car at the very least, or you're going to need a minibus, so just, or a couple of cars. So just bear these things in mind as to how you're going to get things around. One thing that's also very useful is make sure you've got plenty of batteries, assuming you have that option. You know, if you're using a camera phone somewhere, you don't have that option. But like, for example, with a DSLR like I'm using here, I've got 3 batteries. So if I'm out for any length of time, I know that I've got enough battery power to do everything. Now, it might be that you think, oh, well, I'm only shooting 2 scenes and they're only 10 minutes long each and my battery lasts an hour. But you'll be surprised how many times it takes to shoot that one scene. So always allow for more than you think you'll need. Another thing is memory cards or tape if you're using an old type camera like I showed in the last video. So memory cards are always useful. It's amazing, especially when you're shooting in HD or full HD, how much memory is taken up on a memory card. So if you've got multiple memory cards, then it's usually a good idea. Also, it's a good idea anyway, if you're shooting all day, for example, and you've done a couple of scenes on one memory card, it might pay just to whip that out and stick another memory card in, because then at least if one memory card fails, you haven't lost absolutely everything. So it's something that I would certainly recommend. Also, any leads, any connecting leads, you know, if you're going to be connecting your camera to a monitor, have you got the right HD lead you need? If you're going to be connecting your microphone to your audio recorder, do you have the right lead you need? You know, if you're connecting anything to anything, do you have the right lead you need? And do you maybe have a backup if you're going to be in the middle of nowhere and you don't have an option? Leads can be notorious for being crackly and dodgy sometimes. And the last thing you want is for that to happen whilst you're in the middle of nowhere. So I would certainly recommend making sure you got the leads, but also maybe making sure you've got backups if you have the option. Obviously, I've mentioned puppets already, but making sure also, do they need any costumes or any props that go with them? So if they do, just kind of be aware of that. The last thing, scripts. Now, it might be that you're doing something simple, you don't need scripts, you're just making it up as you go along. But in all the summer series I've done, I've always had a script. Even if we go off script, we start with a script. And there's nothing worse than getting there and finding that you don't have enough copies or whatever. So make sure you've got plenty of copies of the scripts if you need them, so that people don't then end up with a situation that they don't have anything. Obviously, there may be other things again that I haven't covered. This is not an exhaustive list. This is the things that I've thought about as I was jotting down what to talk about today. If there's anything else that you're unsure about, or that you want clarification on, or you think that I've missed, stick it in the comments, and you know, I'm happy to reply to that or clarify things, or you know, add it to a video if I redo this again at any point. You know, this is an interactive two-way street, so please feel free to kind of join in with that. So hopefully that's given you an idea of the things that you need in the planning stage. So now we'll leave it at that for this video, but the next one is all going to be about the shoot.